Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Read and Talk About Gemology. Thank you guys for being with us tonight. We skipped a month due to technical, travel, etc. difficulties, but now we're back, and we are very excited for this one. It's been 11 months, but now I guess it's 5, 10, 11, but it's actually 12. So I guess this is our 1-year anniversary. We didn't even think about that. We should have had maybe this is a party we didn't even realize. Well, anyway, we are very happy tonight. We're going to be talking about Lapis Lazuli and an exhibition dedicated to it with our guest, Gian Carlo Parodi. I guess we'll just jump right in. I don't really have anything to say. Vincent, come on in and we can see, what do you have to say? All the way on the other side of the world. Welcome.
Yeah. Hello, Justin. Hello, everybody. Yeah, we skipped 1 month because actually I had a big problem with my computer, and I was traveling and I had a problem with my computer, and I had to basically change it and send it to repair. And I had a few days where I had to install everything again, and it was a big mess. So yeah, we decided to skip this one. And now I'm traveling. I'm somewhere in a hotel in the Middle East, and just back from Greenland. And it's a little bit hectic. Just arrived at 4:00 in the morning last night. So we'll see how it will go.
Yeah. How's it feel to be moving again? We're all still stuck in the same.
Yeah. It's good to be moving again, but there are all these complications with, you have to show the test, and the test have to get less than 72 hours or 48 hours, and the test need to have a QR code, or some country will not accept quick test, some other will ask PCR, some other will ask a PCR with a QR code. And sometime, last night, I took a plane from Copenhagen. In Copenhagen, they told me something. On my website, there was something else. And then I arrived in Dubai, and in Dubai, they told me that I was right in Copenhagen, but there was a mistake. So at the end, I had to pay a test for 200 euro. So there is a lot of thing about, it's a little bit confusing. And even sometimes the airport staff is a little bit confused.
Wow.
So, but
I guess they must be changing the rules day by day. So really, you can't know until the last minute.
Yeah. But so you have to show that you are vaccinated, and then even if you are vaccinated, you need some time also to have some test or to be tested. So you spend your time now not only checking for security with your clothes and things like that, but they are checking also, doing testing in your nose or in your mouth in order to get something, and then you have to wait to get the result to take the plane.
Wow, gosh. So this is I guess this is what they mean about the new normal. That's the real new normal. Stuff getting in your nose all the time.
Yeah, so, maybe.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, well, let's turn to more exciting topics. Tell us a little bit about, so we're talking to Giancarlo Parodi. I have never met him, so you'll have to do the introduction. How do you guys know each other? What's the story here?
Well, Giancarlo Parodi is a famous mineralogist. He's working at the Muséum National History in Paris. And we met each other several times during meetings in Paris, where I was invited by the French Gemological Association to give some talk, and then we start to enjoy each other. So regularly, when I go to Paris and I have a lunch that is available, so instead to have a lunch alone, I call Giancarlo, and I was going to share a lunch with him, and sometimes we were also going to see something at the museum where they have some great collection about minerals. So regularly we were speaking, and I was amazed because I saw that Giancarlo did a few years ago in Italy. He did an exhibition about Lapis Lazuli, and it happens that Lapis Lazuli is one of my favorite stone. Basically, I love blue stone. And there is a great thing with Lapis Lazuli that I found compared to many other blue stone is I can afford it. You know, the type of blue stone that I like, the kind of color, if you speak about a cobalt spinel or a sapphire, I cannot afford it. But a nice piece of beautiful blue, deeply saturated lapis lazuli, I can afford it. And this is a stone that was mined for more than 7,000 years on the Silk Road. So it's a stone that was, it's a special stone. I will not, we will discuss about that with Giancarlo, but this is a stone that resonates for me a lot because it combines gemology, it combines traveling, it combines history, it combines science, it combines culture. There is everything with Lapis Lazuli, and this is just something that is just incredible. And it's all coming from only one place in the world, nearly in Afghanistan, which is a country that I like a lot. So, and we discussed about that and Lapis Lazuli and the impact also of mineralogy in a thing. So there was an exhibition we were thinking to work on, and then COVID came and things like that. So then we decided to continue the discussion about basically the blue stone that today is called Lapis Lazuli, but that long time ago was called also sapphire, and discuss about Lapis Lazuli, mineralogy, and the impact of mineralogy into gemology.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool. I'm looking at the talks that we've done this last year and thinking about the ones that we did the year before. I don't think we've talked at all about lapis specifically, right? We talked about other stones, but we haven't had anyone come who's really focused on lapis. So this is kind of a new stone for us to talk about. Also, by the way, I just realized this is a 1 year. Mm-hmm. This is the 1 year episode since we started with Emily. Yeah, September. Yeah, so this is the 12th month. So next month will be the beginning of year 3, I guess.
So we basically, you just mean that we are nearly in the year number 2 of COVID. Because
year number 3, right? Because it's the end of year number 2 already.
Yeah, but before we were doing a webinar once a week, so we did that for a few months, but then we started to go.
Yeah, true. It wasn't a whole year. It wasn't a whole year, but it is almost getting closer to 2 years of COVID now. It's a little scary, but okay. Well, shall we have Giancarlo in? So we otherwise we might lose him.
Yes.
Okay, well, Giancarlo, if you're ready, you can start the video, unmute. There you are. Welcome.
Hello, Justin. Hello, Vincent. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And first of all, thank you for this kind invitation. It's one occasion to speak about my work and the principal actor to start this talk is not a mineral, it's a rock, is Lapis Lazuli.
Yeah. So where are you calling from tonight? You're in France?
Actually, yes, I am at house because it's Sunday. So the museum is open only for the public. And the first idea was to present this talk directly in the Art Treasure permanent exhibit in the museum. But at this time, 4 o'clock, public is in, so it was not possible to speak in front of windows, of course.
Yeah, I guess that would have been a little bit confusing for the public if you're just sitting in the middle of the museum giving a webinar when they're trying to look at stuff. So
was nice to organize that, but really impossible, especially actually with the COVID restriction.
Yeah, maybe safer to be at home.
Possible, but anyway, the important is to talk presently.
And we were supposed to do that together in Paris. I was supposed to be in Paris at this time, but it didn't work like that.
Expect the unexpected, right?
Yeah, well, once again.
Okay, well, Giancarlo, we're going to talk about lapis and we're going to talk about your exhibition. But before we get into that, Will you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself. Vincent told us that you work for the museum, but tell us a little bit more about, how did you get to this point with your career and with your exhibition?
Uh-huh. Yes, but I am Giancarlo Parodi, of course. I am a geologist, mineralogist, born in Italy, in Rome, sometimes some years ago, without specify that. And my mineralogical career or passion started like a lot of us when I was a young man at high school, or perhaps before, when I was 13 or 14 years old. I remember, for example, my first visit in a mineralogical museum was in Rome at Museo di Mineralogia of the University La Sapienza. I was 13 years old, accompanied with my mom. Museum at this time was closed to the public, was open only for specialists or students.
Mm-hmm.
And after the visit, I remember the visit was 2 or 3 hours. I think a middle day, the entire morning. And at the end, the director at this time, Professor Onorato, asked me, you are a young mineral passionate. What do you think about this exhibit? I think it's very well exhibited, but in the window of in the case, this one, there is one error in the label. And in the another one is an error also. The real occurrence is not this, is another one. And Professor Norato was very impassioned for that. And asked me, what do you want made when you will be more grande, more grand,
Older, yeah.
In the future? I think I would like to work in this place at your place. And that is the real word. Professor Lovato was very, who is this young man who was to speak with me in this manner? It was not passionate, of course. And then after the end of high school, of course, like all geologists, university, in the same department, Department of Earth Science of La Sapienza in Rome. I finished my master in studying, in presenting a thesis about sodalite and the concrenite group minerals, especially in spectroscopy. And after all colleagues in our work, a PhD, I became a PhD in the same university, in continuing to study lazulite, sodalite, concrenite minerals, but in experimental mineralogy, in synthesis. Why synthesis? Because in synthesizing minerals, you can have a perfect stoichiometric formula. So you can make all calculation about in thermodynamic, in the stability fields of, especially in the group minerals, when you have a solid solution and the member, and changing in crystallography and to pass, for example, from one cubic structure to one hexagonal structure. And this is the case of all the sodalite group of minerals. So is physical chemistry, not only minerals. The important in studying minerals is to know how a mineral forms, in which condition, why study minerals, why study a rock, not only to even exhibit in a case of the museum a nice sample, blue or red or yellow with nice forms. Minerals, when it's little, in micrometric scale, is exactly the same, like a giant crystal, like a gypsum of Nika, for example. So from the little to the big, the chemistry and the physics, it's exactly the same. It's only a question of time, geological time, of course. So Lapis Lazuli, who is formed by the principal minerals lazurite. Lazurite is one of the terms of this important mineral group, sodalite group.
Okay. So that was pretty much your specialty, like you're a sodalite expert now, the whole family of...
Yes, of course, not only those in this group, there are around 25, 30 different mineral species.
Yeah.
And one of them, sacrophanite, was discovered during my first study. Is the term of this group. It was my first new species discovered, because I had a systematic mineralogist. So one of the purposes of the systematic mineralogist is to name minerals, to put new one in the nomenclature in this world. All the natural science, in all natural science, are systematic. Happily, in minerals, actually there are only 6,500 species. And comparing with the million of entomology, is very, very little. Each year, about 100 new species are founded and described in the nature. So the work of mineralogists is various. Studying species. Species are linked between and are present in rocks, and why minerals with a specific chemistry forms, in which condition, in which paragenesis. So that is a little introduction.
So I can imagine,
mineralogist.
Yeah, I can imagine, if you're doing your studies, looking at gems, looking at jewelry, and also having maybe some interest in history, being in Rome must have been such a great place to be. I mean, I've been there only once, and it was amazing. So much history in one small area for, thousands and thousands of years of history right there. So I imagine for you and your studies and just through going to school there, that must have been great to have so much access to different types of, gems and jewelry and stuff like that, like in the museums.
But of course, in working in a museum, of course, after my PhD, I had the same parcours, the same way of all postdoc position, and the to be curator in Rome was my first permanent position.
Okay.
And of course, in open cases, in arranging sample, and at the same time in going to the countryside, to the field. You must name what do you find.
Yeah.
At this time, was in the 80, 90 years of the last century, of course. The field mineralogy in this area was a little bit down. Was the first time the renewal of the mineralogical group of collectors. And Lazio is Rome is in the middle of the Latium. Latium is the center of Italy, just not part of Vesuvius. It's important to know Vesuvius area was one of the first and the most important mineralogical area in the world.
Okay.
Quite, I think, 70 or 80 mineralogical spaces was found for the first time in Vesuvius,
Wow.
and important one, like diopside, for example, anorthite, Vesuvianite. At this period, and the 2 century before was at the beginning. Actually, it's normal to find diopside or lassonite everywhere on the world.
Okay.
And in the Latium also was a renewal. This renewal is important to speak about because collectors are on the field and scientific are in the laboratory. So this link is very important. Collectors bring the laboratory, especially in the museum, collect. Why? Because you need to have a name.
Yeah.
And if he have, of course, the background for to describe it with a microscope, but not with an electron microscope or X-ray, and arrive to one exact definition or identification. So this link was exactly in this period, in this time when I begin my.
Yeah, so it must have been very exciting. That's like a really lucky moment for you, right? Like to get to see that while you're there. It's very cool.
Yeah. Sorry?
I mean, just it must have been very exciting for you to see that like that.
Yes.
So,
In this time, I find around 15, 20 new mineral space. Not only me, of course, with the colleagues, with the team. And before, only 1 or 2 in the older century.
Wow. So I'm curious, before we start to talk about the lapis, I'm just curious, as someone who's worked in you've worked in many museums, right? At least 2 museums.
Yes. Rome was the first one. I worked at La Sapienza 6 or 7 years. And then I moved in Paris to the Natural History Museum. Why? Because between the PhD and a permanent position in Rome, I was postdoc in Paris. I was postdoc in Paris and with a different grant before to have a permanent position. You know, it's not easy to open a concourse when one position is open. We are a lot of concurrents, not concurrents, and all the concurrents are all friends and colleagues, but only for one.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask. Like, if someone wants to work in a museum, is it very hard to get that job? Very competitive? You have to have a lot of experience or something?
Is competitive like all job, of course, and is not the best one, of course. But one must arrive first. That not means that the other one are not good. All is a question of time and of occasion.
Yeah. Okay.
I was Italian and I worked in France. Not because I was the best mineralogist, but because perhaps my French language was good. I cannot postulate in I don't know, in Norge because it's a case of language, it's not only for science.
Yeah.
And in this parenthesis, during this period when I was in Rome, I was also 6 or 8 months in London in natural history in British Museum, Comley Road, with a grant of the Royal Society. And so it was also one great experience to work in another museum, important museum, I think the most important mineralogical museum and the better one in Europe. And so was this period had experience. And in working in a museum, your vision change, because there is not only science, pure science, there is a public. So working in a museum, you don't work in a public class to speak about mineralogy. Is another manner enseigner.
Teaching.
To teaching mineralogy. Is mineralogy for the public, for the big public, and not only through the permanent exhibits. It's very important to organize temporary exhibit in one theme. It's exactly like other museum of figurative art, as Louvre British Museum, with monothematic temporary titles.
You gotta.
You cannot discover Tiziano in the Louvre, but with a Tiziano monographic exhibit, you can enter in a more specific way. So, Lapis Lazuli was not my first exhibit. It was a little gray to begin to speak about starting from Morocco, which all people know, not only mineral or James passionate, but all people, I think, have heard one time this term Lapis Lazuli. But what is Lapis Lazuli? If you don't explain in a thematic and monographic form, is difficult. And Lapis Lazuli is everywhere. Lapis Lazuli is blue. There are not a lot of blue minerals, for example. Why blue? why grounding a blue minerals powder is white for certain, for someone, and rest blue for lazurite, for example. So it's why this phenomena and how this property of the minerals was important in the human history.
Yeah.
Pigment, painting, for the more simple one, but also for human life. You or your wife all the day use the washing machine. In the washing machine, the powder is white, but with a little black point. And this little black point are the same composition of lazurite. Is a synthetic one. So the
I
blau
did not know that.
to make a more white possible, like a publicity.
Wow. Okay. Oh, it's because it's like kind of
So there
adding
is,
blue into the.
there's a lot of
Little
way different, starting from only one things.
Yeah. So, okay. So we can kind of see now you were already interested in the whole sodalite family, including Lapis Lazuli. Coming out of school, you get your job at the museum in Rome, and so then you're allowed to do this exhibition, right? This is kind of how it happened. So you put together this whole exhibition on not just the mineral, right, but also the culture, the people.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The interesting is to mix.
Yeah.
Starting from a naturally history item.
Okay. Well, you sent me some photos from the exhibition. So shall we show some, and then you can talk a little bit about, what the exhibition was like, and tell us about how you put it together?
Yes. Yes, a little slide.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you say when was the exhibition and which place? It was in Florence, correct?
Yes, the exhibit was in 2015.
Yes.
In Palazzo Pitti in Florence. 3 months from June to September. So 4 months of exhibit was a very important for the public because 200,000 visitors in a little town like Florence is important. Is a lot for in talking about the shift, about the numbers. For example, the first exhibit I organized with other colleagues in Paris in 2000 about diamonds. In 3 months, entry was 400,000, but in a town like Paris, Paris is 14 million of visitors of habitants.
Yeah.
I was able to see the one about diamond, but I wanted to see the one on Lapis Lazuli when I saw that it was going. But at this time, I was working with GA. I had to go in the field, and I was not able to come back in Europe.
You are a field man. So for this reason, you don't forget le chapeau.
Yeah, but I wanted to find a good excuse to go to Europe at this time, but I could not. So then I had the only thing I had about that exhibition was the book that you and the other people published. But the book is only in Italian. So
Well, the book was all in Italian because the exhibit was in Italy.
yes, I know.
But, yes, no, it's interesting your question because can be one idea to organize a second one exhibit about the blue or Lapis Lazuli
I would love to see
in
that.
English or in another and in l'améliorant, in improving. Of course, in one exhibit is never the first one is not perfect,
Yeah.
so can improve.
It would
Is
be
one
worth it.
idea.
It would be worth it because there is no other stone like Lapis Lazuli. There is no other stone that was really used, you know, at this level by human for nearly 7,000 years. 7,000 years of history, you know,
I think it's the first one stone.
From the Bronze Age. It was a major stone from the Bronze Age because I think at this time the bronze was made with, you know, bronze is made of copper and tin, and the main source for tin for the Bronze Age was Afghanistan. So I still don't know which came first, the tin from Afghanistan or the lapis, and which one, you know, makes the other one come so far away. You imagine during the Bronze Age, it was coming from Afghanistan all to Europe. And then for 7,000 years or 8,000 years, people appreciate Lapis Lazuli.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
And Lapis Lazuli is from only one occurrence.
Yes, from only one occurrence. There is no other stone like that. Because many stones are just appear recently. Spinel, the stone we know as a spinel, just appeared during an earthquake in the 9th or 10th century. Rubies, we don't see any real, the stone we call today ruby, they are not, you know, appearing in antique jewelry and things like that. But Lapis Lazuli, for 7,000 years, people enjoy lapis.
Yes. For example,
the type of civilization. So it's an incredible stone.
The other one important occurrence of Lapis Lazuli is in Chile.
Yeah.
But the Chile mine was discovered only some century ago. And the Russian one only 1 century ago.
Yes.
There are very little comparing the big metamorphic marble host rock like Badgashan.
Yeah.
Actually, there was only one that I visited. That's if there is one place I would like to visit on the planet is the Lapis Lazuli mine in Myanmar. In Afghanistan. I failed 4 times already to visit that place, but the only one I visited was in Mogok in Burma, where you have several places. You have 3 areas where you have lapis, and the funny thing is that the Burmese are not really agree on that. Some people say, oh, it's lapis. Some people say, no, it's not lapis, it's sodalite, because actually there is no pyrite. The Burmese lapis is without pyrite. So some people say, oh, because there is no pyrite, it's not lapis, which is somewhat funny because the best quality Afghan lapis should not have pyrite. The less the pyrite in Afghan lapis, the better the quality. But if you don't have in Burmese, then it's... So...
It's like the Russian one without pyrite.
Is the
Baikal region.
Vincent, does the Burmese one have a
that is important, Vincent, because the host rock, or the geological processes is quite the same. Is deep metamorphic marble, but depend of fluids. If no iron, no pyrite. And in the Burmese Lapis Lazuli, yes, of course there is lazurite, but also sodalite.
Yes.
And in Afghanistan, and Afghanite and other same group minerals paragenesis. But it's different.
Yeah.
And the first one, the most famous, like Vincent tell good from 6,000 years ago. We found lapis lazuli in all civilization, starting Persia and following or parallel to the Silk Road. You found after in Mediterranean world, in Egypt, in Greece, in Rome. After there is a Middle Age and barbarian period, nothing, all was closed. And at the Renaissance, Rinascimento, I don't know in English, restart this moda, this fashion in the Milan carving, the object in Tarsio marquetry like Florence, art stones, and the market. The market was at the same time after Marco Polo travel, only in one town in Occident, in Europe, in Venice, and was not only for jewelry or ornamental stones, but essentially for pigment.
Mm-hmm.
What was the town?
Or the piper. Sorry?
What was the name of the town?
Venezia, Venice.
Venice. Venice was the center of the pigmentation.
Yes, all the market from the Orient for spice and silk and lapis lazuli.
So the Venetian has the monopoly on the trade of lapis.
Exactly. And from Venice, Venezia, merchant selling the stones arrive in all Europe. And the best quality of blue rests in Italy because more close. So, and little in Germany, in Holland, in Dutch, where the paint school was more performer. The blue pigment before in Europe, lapis lazuli was the blue stones from Alemania.
Yeah.
What is the blue stones from Alemania? Is azurite.
Yeah.
Is the copper carbonate, and copper carbonate was found essentially in Bohemia and in Austria. Copper mine, but azurite is not stable, and with time transform in malachite. So paint change color. Why the sky of the Bruegel or other Flemish is quite green?
Okay, a change.
Because azurite is transformed in malachite. But what was the purpose of the paint when he paint? Was black.
Yeah.
Actually, it's green.
But they could not afford they could not afford lapis lazuli. They could not afford pigment of
not stable.
Yeah. Okay.
Not stable.
Did they know that it wasn't stable, or they found out later?
Sorry?
Did they already know that it was going to change to green, or they found out, maybe after 50 years or something? When they,
no. So if I good understand, no, lazurite is completely stable. You can have some more dark if it's not pure, if there is some pyrite inside.
Mhm.
But normally it was well chosen, and pyrite was
Giancarlo,
out.
Justine demandait si les peintres le savaient, s'ils
Non.
savaient que c'était
Non,
pas stable.
sorry, je n'ai pas compris.
Oui, non, il demandait simplement s'ils savaient que
No, of course.
le pigment n'était pas stable.
No, of course.
No, they didn't know.
No, of course.
No, okay.
Is a change, not even a change. After 100 years can be
Changing.
Yes.
the transformation in malachite can be begin.
So maybe the second generation realized we need to switch to ultramarine and stop using.
Paradoxically speaking, the new synthetic pigment, like with composition like lazurite, people the painter Klein.
Yeah.
Klein is the perfect cloud, the blue Klein is a synthetic one. But in synthesizing this new pigment, Klein have introduced in the formula a different oxidation state of iron, of iron sulfur. So in the time is less stable and pass to the dark. Yeah, in the Beaubourg paint of Klein, actually begin restoration because the original Blau is more dark.
Okay.
But paint from the Renaissance, Bellini, Tiziano, Tintoretto are still black.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, let's.
Incredible. That is one incredible comportement.
Yeah, the stability of a lazurite.
Voilà, behavior of the lazurite.
Yes, yeah. Lazurite is stable, but the pigment that the Klein develop is actually the synthetic pigment is actually not that stable, and it darken with time.
Wow,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vincent, for the specification in more good English than the mine. And when I organized this exhibit, so now we start to speak about in viewing some picture. When I touched the items in preparing this exhibit, it was a real emotion in viewing the object fresh one. The color of the Lapis Lazuli from Iraq, from Persia, made 6,000 years ago, were fresh one.
Yes.
It's incredible that. Yeah. That is one of the behavior of this mineral rock.
Yeah. Well, let's.
The only thing that changes the small piece of pyrite in the Lapis Lazuli after a few 100 years are gone.
Yes.
So they darken. But the lazurite is still the same.
In a little scale. Only in a little scale.
Yeah.
Voilà.
So can we look at some pictures?
Voilà. So this exhibit started with my old passion about this mineral group, and I managed to explain to the public how one object of natural history of the nature entry in a culture of the human culture through the epoch, through the years, and through the different a kind of artist. So it's a little bit of water.
So the exhibition was a combination of photographs. Was it there was actual pieces of art as well and sculpture?
Yes, starting from the rock.
Okay.
And for different the rock Lapis Lazuli. Lapis Lazuli is main composed by lazurite blau, sodalite blau. Actually, also is discovered Afghanite blau.
Mm-hmm.
But the other one are white, calcite, wollastonite, forsterite, some diopside, and sulfur. Okay. Sulfur like pyrite and wurtzit, the zinc sulfide. Okay. The principal occurrence is located at the north of Afghanistan, at the frontier with Tajikistan and Pakistan, in the Kocha Valley. Yeah. The methods of exploitation of the principal actor of the Lapis Lazuli is practically the same during this century, except actually the use of explosive.
Okay. And so all these pictures that we're seeing now, this is part of the mining process?
This picture was made by Philippe Poupin, a reporter. He was in Afghanistan 10 years ago, and he have published centenaria, 100 picture. Was one of the first men who have the happy chance to entry in this part of the world.
Yeah. He was able to go there.
Yes, and
more than 10 years ago when he was
inside the mine.
Yes.
The mine, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Vincent, he did your dream already.
Exactly. He showed the work of the man, a very, very hard type of work at 5,000 meters of altitude, in a very, very difficult for time for meteorology, dried path, without helicopter, without all the transport was and is by walking. Wow. You can see this man with a big block on the sur les épaules, on the back, walking, bring in very difficult. And he's not an alpinist; he's quite a Sherpa.
Yeah. No, it's this photo. When I discovered this photo, it just this photo blown my mind away, because you imagine that people are working in this place like that for 7,000 years. So you have 7,000 years old tunnels. So this whole valley is full of tunnels, and there is no other place in the world like that, probably. A place
how many feet?
You can see the entrance of the mine on that one. These are the entrance of the mine. And the whole valley, the valley is super famous. You have some description, a more description, some British who went there, you know, in at the end of the 19th century. And you had also Barrian, a French mineralogist, who went there in the 1950s.
60.
very famous. He did a lot of work on this place, and then you had the photo from Poupin, and you can see the valley is super steep. So the mines are, there is one village, and the mine are over, and you have many different mines producing a slightly different quality, but the work is. You imagine the people working there is just totally unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
and I tried to go there in 2006. I failed because I didn't have enough time. And then I tried again in 2010, tried again in 2011, tried again in 2012, tried again in 2017, 18. And every time I failed for one reason or another one. Yeah, I hope that one of these days I will be able to go there. Regarding that, there is something I would like to say about it, because maybe some people will ask questions. What is fascinating with lapis is that you can immediately realize that gemstones are not like bananas or coffee or potatoes. Many people think that, if, for example, there is lapis, now with the situation in Afghanistan, with the Taliban and things like that, people say, now, we have to ban lapis because lapis is controlled by Taliban. Well, lapis is not coffee. So it means that most of the lapis that are in the trade, that is in the trade now, was mined many years ago, sometime 100 years ago. So all these gemstones, including lapis, have nothing to do with, if you change a government in a country, gemstones are durable. So gemstone cannot be seen as a coffee or bananas or things like that. They are not farmed like the lapis you will buy tomorrow will probably not have been touched by the Taliban, because it was mined maybe 20 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, or maybe 6,000 years ago. So that it has nothing to do with that. Most gemstones, in my opinion, are antique. And a
lot of time in deposits. Yes.
Yes. If you want to have a Burmese rubies these days, the mine in Burma, the ruby mine, are not really active. And most of the time, you're in Paris, you're in Europe, you want to get a ruby, you will get it from somebody who passed away recently. So it's a second-hand or third-hand stone. So gemstones have nothing to do with the political situation as the day in some country, despite what some people want to say, because they want to maybe put some regulation or thing like that, or some boycott. But most gemstones are actually antiques. So this is something that, if there are any questions that will come, we are not here to speak about the political situation in Afghanistan.
Yes, essentially.
It's a stone.
Actually, in this period,
that went through thousands of years.
Anyway, the Badgashan people working the same family, tribal family, of course, can be political. Is another debate.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe a piece of lapis in this photo could be in Tucson this year, for all we know, for sale. From that one guy from from 10 years ago. So who knows? But I think we definitely, from the photos, we really do get a sense of the scale, the human scale of this whole thing. Between just seeing this guy with this crazy boulder on his back, and then this first photo where we saw the holes. If we see the size of the men, and then all these spots where they can go in, and if some of these are thousands of years old, it really does give you the sense of how long would it take to dig a hole into the side of a mountain, and then people have been doing that for thousands of years, and now the holes are probably pretty deep, right? Pretty big. Yeah. So it's amazing. It's
hard work.
Yeah.
Okay, we had one question. This is Martin Kovacic asking, do they still fire and cool the rock with water for mining? Like, I guess when they're, exploding it?
So how
Are they
water.
are they using like explosives and then cooling it, or fire and then cooling it?
Alors, there is a river in the front of the valley, and water is if the stone after the extraction come down, then the same man put the water in higher level.
Right, but I mean, for the actual breaking of the rock, he's asking, are they heating the wall and then cooling it so that it cracks? Do you know?
Including the water, waiting the ice.
Non, Giancarlo, Giancarlo, il demande si, la méthode minière, si les mineurs chauffent les pierres et ensuite les aspergent d'eau pour que les pierres craquent, s'ils font toujours ça ou s'ils utilisent actuellement des explosifs.
Non, actuellement, ils utilisent... actually, is more explosive for the big part, and then handling.
Okay, so it's mostly with dynamite then, like.
Yes, but the first is by explosive actually.
Okay, and that's what
in following phylon.
Yes, okay. Yes.
And so that's what we're seeing here. They've got the explosive down in the hole in this photo, right?
Voilà.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm not even sure if they were doing too much about fire on the water, because in this area, number one, wood is not very common, so it's kind of difficult to bring to do fire in the Kokra Valley. There is not one tree. You can see there is not so many trees. No. So to bring the wood at this place and then to also bring the water in the mine, it's I think it's a kind of I'm not sure if they were doing that too much, but maybe, possibly.
Okay. And another question, this is Francois Carrier asking, is Sar Sang only famous historically, or are they still exploiting it now for lapis?
Yeah, still. This is what is special with the lapis mine in Afghanistan, is this is probably the only mining area in the world that is for gemstone that is mining for 7,000 years. Okay. There is no other place where there is proven mining for 7,000 years of gemstone, the same place.
And so, this is so cool. So I know, like, when so many times when you go into the history museums and you can find, you often do see old lapis lazuli in the ancient Egyptian sculptures and stuff. So it's very cool to think, like, those rocks.
Eventually, you have another example, but a different one for amber.
For amber, okay.
Yes, amber for the Baltic amber. Baltic amber was known thousand years and so.
But it's collected more on the beach. It's not really mined. It's collected on the beach.
In the same area, and I think it's at the same time objects with Baltic amber are known from the Paleolithic era.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you cannot really visit a mine of amber.
Not in the mine, in a most big area.
So I wonder, along the same lines as the amber, maybe jet could also be in that category too, because I know when I visited the Jet Museum in Whitby, they had some maybe Iron Age jet or Bronze Age jet, pre-Roman, but that stuff also comes off the beach, so it's not a mine. It's just from the beach. But
you see, there are some gemstones, for example, they were mined for a period and then it stopped for many years.
Yeah.
But lapis was a kind of a major gemstone. When you look at the treasure from Egypt and from Babylon and then the Middle Age and then
everything, every era.
The time. Nearly all the time. There were only very short period where lapis was not used. When you imagine just a place like Mogok in Burma, it's just officially 800 years old.
Yeah.
Lapis is the lapis mines are much older.
Yeah. Exponentially.
And regularly in activity. Yeah.
Okay, so Francois is also asking, where are the mines situated in Chile?
Is in the south part, at the south of north of Patagonia, south of the name of the region.
Yeah.
Is in the book. There is a card. One moment, please. Tajikistan.
The Chile one are nice. They have a blue spot like leopards. They are more. They don't have usually a uniform blue. They have like the Burmese. They are more like white with blue spots.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask before, is the Burmese one have a really saturated color the same way that the Afghan does? But no gold flecks, no pirate.
Yeah. And more like
no golden pirate.
White. Yeah.
Okay.
I have many samples.
Okay.
Actually, the only mine of lapis I was able to visit are the one in Burma.
Without.
Yes.
And in Baikal, so in Russia.
Yeah, but I was not able to go to Baikal. I would love to go to Irkutsk and to Baikal, but I was not able to go there yet.
It's more a little than the Burmese, or very little region in Baikal with Lapis Lazuli. J'ai perdu le fil là.
No. Do you have the name of the place in Chile?
Ovalle.
Le nom de l'endroit au Chili.
Oui, Ovalle. Ovalle in the Coquimbo. Coquimbo is north of Patagonia.
Yes.
In the Pacific part.
Okay.
But in the first and the Cordillera, I have not a card. I have only a point because I don't go in.
You have a map. You have a map in the book from Claire d'Acuna.
Yes, there is a card in the book of Claire.
Yes. So if people want more information about Lapis, there are several books about Lapis, and there was some excellent work that was done by a French gemologist called Claire d'Acuna, and you have also some other book, but the one from Claire, you have maps. You have maps of the place in Chile. You have maps of the place in Baikal. You don't have about Burma, because that's the one that basically nobody wrote about for many years. People say, oh, there are rumors that maybe there is lapis in Burma, but that's it. So Burma are really the ones that are under-published about. Mm-hmm. But yes, you have the maps in the book from Claire d'Acuna.
Okay.
The Florence exhibit was devoted to Claire d'Acuna.
Mm. So Giancarlo,
the first inspiration for me for this exhibit, the little book about treatment and more gemological, technical, and with this little part of history.
You met her? Did you meet her?
Sorry?
Did you meet her?
No. Yes, because I have a book with signature. Was in 87, 88. I think Claire was one of the first diploma of the Nantes school.
Yes, she was one of the first. I remember Emmanuel.
Yes, 87, 88. Around the book is in the office. Is not at house.
Yes,
it was a nice work of thesis. Yes,
very good one.
So,
So I see one picture in my desk is one object. Is a play. Is a lot of damier in Lapis Lazuli and ivory.
okay.
Lot of time you can see Lapis Lazuli associated to ivory
Okay.
for the facility to work, because ivory was also one material in fashion at this time. Is one of the first play on the archaeological history. This is in London at British Museum, Russell Square. In the picture after, I think there are also I cannot voilà, La Stele di Ur is in London also. Is an history of human agriculture and king and good offers. Is 15 centimeter long object for 50 centimeter in height, also in the British Museum. It's one icon of Lapis Lazuli work. Unfortunately, for the exhibit, we don't have the possibility to expose the Tutankhamun
face mask,
because it was in another exhibit,
okay.
And it was also very expensive in transport and insurance value. Anyway,
so this piece, how old is the piece?
The piece is 6,000 old, less 4,000 before Christ.
Okay.
6,000 from now.
And the one we saw before, is this the same period?
Yes. In this was
Babylon area.
Excavation of the Ur king tombs, and was one most important archaeological work in the 50 years made by English archaeologists.
Okay. Is it? It's a game board.
Game board.
Yeah, like a game.
Qu'est-ce que c'est exactement?
It's a game. C'est comme un jeu de pouce.
Yes.
I don't know in English. You must put the disc on the top.
Okay.
Of the table square.
I see. I see the lapis inlay here. Is this lapis too, or it's something? This is something else.
There is lapis.
This one is, and the inlays.
And ivory, and some part in black. The dark black
jet
wood.
Oh, it's wood, petrified wood.
Okay.
Yes. The black is ebony.
Oh, ebony. Okay. And then
okay, not petrified, ebony. Okay. Ebony wood.
Ebony
the
wood.
Black is ebony wood. The white is ivory, and the blue is lapis lazuli.
Yes, and the yellow is gold.
Wood plus tusk ivory plus stone
And gold.
And
and
gold.
gold.
And gold.
That's a fancy board game.
Is yes.
Okay.
Gold. The same excavation company in Persia. But this picture was only to explain what kind of object was presented. The philosophy was through the time, before more ancient, arriving so from Persia, and after there is in the next slide, I think there is the that is Persian also. Lapis in Persia was all time associated with gold.
Okay.
Blau and yellow. This object are from Louvre Museum, but the most part of the Persian objects are in London.
Okay. And this one's Persia as well?
This is a duck, big one, 22 centimeter, is a monoblock of lapis. Is in Louvre, in the permanent show of the Louvre. So from Persia, we are in Egypt, and after in Mediterranean. First, lot of objects. I just put one selection.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
there is a jump until Renaissance, bowl and couple from Miseroni, grotesque.
This one's Miseroni.
Miseroni. This is in Mineralogical Museum of Florence, and in using block.
Right.
And that is one example of intarsio with ebon black wood. From Delta, there is a Florence work. Now we are in Renaissance time, right? And well, that is Venetian work, but the object is in Vittorio Alberto Museum in London, with Lapis Lazuli, wood and gold. And this object is important because you can see how with the same material, different quality, you can use the less quality gem, but in contrast, like white and black, that is blau and white.
Yeah, no,
but you can visually show your case. In the other part, I don't know if I put the slide, there is a backgammon.
Oh yeah, no, we didn't see that one, but I would love to see that.
There's a backgammon play.
Okay.
That's probably the most beautiful chessboard I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have one. I bring one chessboard from my first trip in Afghanistan. But it's you have lapis for the blue, and then you have marble. So it's blue and white. It's not full lapis like this one.
Yeah.
So
I know
Yeah.
since the pandemic started, we've been playing a lot of backgammon, but ours is like a cheap with plastic pieces or whatever. So we were thinking we're missing some pieces. So I was thinking, well, instead of just getting the replacement pieces, since we're in Bangkok, maybe we could have some custom ones made. And we were thinking about lapis and jade because just that would be a good contrasting materials. But maybe back in this time, maybe it would have been lapis and ivory. Maybe that would have been more appropriate for what we just saw, or lapis and gold if you could really.
It's
do
more
that.
common.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're seeing some totally different kind of stuff here.
Yes, because after another employment use of Lapis Lazuli as support of paint.
Yeah. So we know that also they were crushing up the lapis to make blue paint, but in this situation, it's not blue paint, it's actually painted onto the lapis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's not lapis as pigment, but as support.
It's the canvas.
The same kind of this period was to use stones, essentially paisina stones or alabaster, because the graphism helped the painter to add figure normally biblical or mythologic history. Painter on stones was one group of Florence and Rome. Filippo Napoletano, Cavalier Tempesta, was very specialized in this kind of figurative art using stones. There is a big collection in Florence at the Opificio delle Pietre Dure. The Medicis Duke fabric of this kind of art, quite unique before the expansion in Praga and in Madrid as stone employment in decorative art. That will be one thema of next exhibit about on intarsio and commesso using decorative stones.
Okay.
Of course, presenting which stones are used from where and the different fashion starting before Roma, after the ancient Rome, after the Baroque Rome, until Florence. The work of stones is not only in Florence, but start some lot of century years before.
So when they're painting on the stones like this, is it oil paint, or they have to use a different kind of paint to stick to the stone?
If the kind of
le type de peinture qu'ils utilisaient, ils utilisaient de la peinture à l'huile ou ils utilisaient un différent type de peinture?
No, okay, good question. Tempera, gouache.
Oh, okay. So like an egg tempera, yeah.
Not oil, with water.
Water. Okay.
Yes.
Water paint.
Okay. Cool. And then okay, we have one more. This is the same thing, same kind of idea, painting on the lapis.
Yes, the same kind as Orazio Gentileschi. So why the stones as support? Because that and the choice of the painter to choose the stones because it's a natural paint. that is a say in Louvre. There is one of the most famous paint on stone is Cavalier Tempesta, the fisher, les pescatori di perle, the pearl fisher, and the
pearl fisher.
Yes, all the support is Lapis Lazuli in different variation, chromatographic variation in white, wollastonite and calcite, and blau, more lazurite, more sodalite mix, and with the pearls chalcedony in Tarsia over inside Lapis Lazuli.
Cool.
I presented only that because all in sorry too much speak for the pigment one. Oh, you know, there is a lot of Madonna.
Yeah.
So Antonello da Messina, Bellini, San Sepolcro. In this period, all the blau for the religion subject or king mantle was in Lapis Lazuli.
Okay.
The sky is different. The sky is more azurite or lazulite, the phosphate with L pigment. And in another part, there is no slide, is show also why the employment of Lapis Lazuli was not common in, but only for the important commission of art, because it was really very, very expensive. Thousands and thousands of old gold pieces for kilo. And for this reason, at the end of the 18th century, one important banker and merchant of silk, Frenchman, Guimet, is the same Guimet collector of the Guimet Museum in Paris of Oriental art. Guimet was an important silk and other tissue, textile man, and to less spend in the blau pigment, he have organized an international concours to find a same material in synthetic production. And is starting at this period, the pigment change is other blau, Prussian blau, or synthetic one. The important painter, French Ingres, was the first to use the synthetic lazurite in a work. And the price go less of 99% less.
Yes.
It's enormous. The delta, the gap of price before and after this important discovery in chemistry and so in employment. So that was the easy start. How starting with one stone, you can explain a lot of different things. Of course, those jewelry, so modern Cartier, Mauboussin, other one, but not possible to show all in short time. And the risk is to eat too much image about only one.
So you've done now obviously several exhibits. I mean, you've mentioned already the diamonds, the lapis, and you're working in several museums. So are you, over your career now, are you developing a sort of a philosophy about, how to present this kind of work, stones and artwork for the public, getting some different ideas?
Yes, of course, because and it's not finished. I hope. In working in a museum, you start to develop other matters. So how to show for the public, how use support, how use light, how use modern actual support, static screen or touch pieces. So each exhibit is a new adventure, and each exhibit for the technical view improve the precedent one, of course. One of the most difficult I've made was éclat de couleur, flash of colors. Flash of colors was a marriage between my passion, stones and wine. I like wine. I made a wine. My great father was a vineyard, and so I have started. The start of the input of the exhibit was the sommelier language.
Yeah.
Because a sommelier, when describe a wine, is not only a nose, but is a color. Yeah. And for sommelier, all red is garnet, all yellow is or gold or amber. But Vincent, garnet is a big family, and voilà, that was the flyer of the exhibit. So the sommelier cannot know, don't know. Garnet is also green, yellow, or white, or black. There is only almandine or pyrope, red one, and with the different nuance, with different Pantone scale of red. Or in amber, you have the amber of Santo Domingo is yellow and more clear than the amber of Baltic one, more orange, quite brown. So the language, the start is wrong.
Yeah, but you don't have blue wine, so that's why you don't speak about it.
I know that there is a blue curacao, blue alcohol with adding methylene blue artificial. Happily no blue wine. Blue bottles, yes, of gin, Bombay Sapphire, is also a mineral name. So was interesting because the language is in the language there is a name of minerals or family of minerals, but one matter is solid, another one is liquid.
Liquid.
One is organic, the other one is inorganic.
Yeah.
The joint for the human is the color.
Mm.
So, what is the origin of the color? Why is red in wine? Why is red in a ruby? How the matter absorb light, and the light is emitted after, and the eyes, human eyes, can decipher the information, and then how the brain develop and made the synthesis of the visual part. And the difficulty was how to show the two different matter. And in this slice is only the end of the exhibit. But before was the history of light, the history of the light spectra of the visible one, and how some human see some color and not other one. So the phenomena like daltonism and other one. And little, like one entonnoir, little, we arrive to the goal, to the object, and present joy. So in these windows, for example, we have show this the red color, yes. With the red, yes. The rosé, dark rosé, with the same wine, different age, so different oxidation state, with the most similar minerals, like the liquid one. It's not only garnet, you see the calcite, rhodochrosite, and not all the rhodochrosite are the same color. Rhodochrosite from Colorado is different than the rhodochrosite of Bohemia or Southwest Africa. Ruby. Not all ruby are the same color.
Right.
For this reason, with eyes, you can not only only you are very expert. You can only with eyes made the difference from one Greenland or Mogok.
Yeah. No, I think it's an interesting idea to pair the wine with the gemstone, and the way that you've displayed it, where it's really focusing on the color.
Yes, and was one effect, nice effect, and when you are mixed to the visitors, so hearing the comments. Was very nice to hear positive comment about the technique exposition. This exhibit was naturally made with the help of a great friend and passionate of wine, Bill Larson, and the curator of the Dijon Museum. It was in Dijon. Dijon is the capital of Burgundy, so one of the capital of wine. And at the end of the exhibit, I think we see in the next slice with Bill and Alain Marteau, we was interested in the Clos Vougeot sommelier confrérie.
Okay.
It was a very nice moment, very nice moment of to go to the exhibit, how choice specimen, how show specimen for the public.
Yeah, it seems like a really fun, kind of a unique experience. You don't see it's kind of playful, right? You can have fun thinking about wine. Usually, we don't think about the color too much like that. We red, white, rosé, but you don't look at all the different shades of red and think about it like a
Yes.
gemstone. So no, it's clever.
Try to see, is red like a cupite or more rhodochrosite?
So then after the exhibit, what do you do with the wine? You can still drink it, or it's not good anymore?
No. The wine was inside is in a permanent part of the new gastronomy museum in Dijon.
Okay, so it's still there.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Next
you
time
can visit. Next year will be open.
Okay, yeah, I will. I was in Dijon last time I was in France, so maybe next time I'll go again. I didn't know I could go see a wine. And the gemstones are there too, or it's just the wine?
No, the gemstones are the museum and Bill collection. So it was only alone.
Okay, so just the wine's there now.
No, there is more short. It's only one win. It's not all the exhibits. Only one white and white, yellow, and it's free rosé and with a permanent collection of Dijon specimens.
Okay, yeah. Next time I'm in Dijon, I will definitely look it up. That's cool.
It's a nice time.
I'm back.
You're back. I thought we lost you.
Yes. My connection went funny, it seems. So where are you?
Well, we just finished Stones and Wine. We were looking at the
Dijon exhibit talking about technique, how and why one of the curator museum work for the public is different, is not only stones, but why stones, why stones exist, why stones is in the museum.
Yeah. So do you think if you do another Lapis exhibit, like if you guys can do one together or just in the future, will you make a totally new concept, a new idea about how to display, or, do you have some new ideas from all this experience?
Yes, for example, more develop the technological use of structure with minerals with the same structure of lazurite. For example, in agriculture déchets, pollution.
Waste. Agriculture waste.
The cage of the structure is very big, so all nitrate, phosphate can enter. So in the structure, so you can depurate the earth, the polluted earth. It's the same work as another part of my work, for example, is in uranium and thorium déchets.
Waste.
Voilà, waste. So studying minerals with new structure where can be entry, the weight of after the uranium and energy use.
Okay.
Yeah, you are studying
How to stock.
Yes, how to trap. You are studying some mineral structure enabling to trap the waste from uranium and thorium.
The purpose is to
waste.
to to newly enter in the earth.
Yes,
with another form and stable and not with not pollution for human and for environment.
So this is one of the practical aspect of mineralogy, is to be able to find some materials that can be useful for technology.
Why study a mineral? A mineral is not, of course, for identified before, but then and why? So what you can, in which one you can use all the new, most part of actual new discovery in new minerals are not cannot be used in industrial mode because of the few quantity. The mass part is less 1 millimeter, is 100 microns. But if you know the structure, is possible to use for other purpose, you can synthesize that.
Okay. So with
the synthesis, you can work and apply the natural observation.
Yeah. Giancarlo, so this point is very interesting because for me, this is, in the past, for example, you look from the antiquity to people like Buffon. Gemstone were named from color and origin. The name of all the gemstones were all the time more or less associated with color and origin. But then it became very, very confusing because you had Brazilian ruby, Bohemian ruby, a badass ruby, Oriental ruby, and then at the same time you had some sapphires, and everything became so confusing that suddenly you had a group of people who decided to bring some, make some sense and identify, this is that, this is that, this is that, in order to be able to put some clarity and enable to be able to study this material more, because before it was very, very confusing. So I think this is from that point that mineralogy started, because everything was so confusing in the way people were naming stone and naming nature that with the 18th century, when science started to arrive, they started, okay, let's classify the thing in a way that makes sense. Let's describe the thing in a way that makes sense. So like that, when we study something, we know what we speak about.
It's a very interesting question. And I have the answer, but in 30 seconds, because pause.
Okay.
No, I think that's such an interesting period of time. I think you should really write an article about this, because the times that we've spoken about this, the change from kind of the old-fashioned classification, the sort of I guess you call it the pre-scientific classification, the classical one, to the modern one. I never heard about that other than from you. So I think you should really write something about this. It's it's such an interesting period of Gemmology history, basically.
Oh, there are many things that were written about that, but not in. You see, when you look at books about Gemmology, before the 19th century, they start with Theophrastus, they start with Pliny, they start with that. Then you can see there is a change. Most of the book about Gemmology starting in the 19th century, they start with a chapter on mineralogy. Mm-hmm. So before science, and it's a global thing on basically on knowledge. Before the 19th century, when people were studying basically knowledge on science, they were basically studying the text of the ancient. If somebody was basically knowledgeable, it means that he had read the text of the ancient, And he was basically explaining the text of the ancient or discussing the text of the ancient. But then science changed this thing because it was not, the starting point was not anymore the text of the ancient, it was observation of nature. So you observe nature and then you make an experience and then you look at the result and you discuss the results. And this is the breakdown, and it's affected most of basically the area of human knowledge, and Gemmology in particular.
Yeah.
So this is the way I think mineralogy came, and Giancarlo will. What I would like to hear from Giancarlo is, 200 years ago, all the nomenclature about gemstone changed. So when people are reading something about ruby in a text that was written in the Middle Age, they are probably not speaking about the stone we know today as ruby, because the definition changed with the arrival of mineralogy. So the sapphire of the ancients, the rubies from the ancients, the emerald from the ancient were not maybe the emerald of the ruby or the sapphire of today. And the funny thing with Lapis Lazuli is you can see Lapis Lazuli was basically, it was the sapphire of the ancient. The word sapphire is probably famous because of the stone we know today as Lapis Lazuli. And Lapis Lazuli is not a mineral, it's a rock. So it remained, I think, with this Latin word, Lapis Lazuli, basically the blue rock, the blue stone. So it's, I think Lapis Lazuli is a perfect example with ruby and spinel, sapphire, Lapis Lazuli, yes. Ruby and spinel are the perfect example of this two stone that survives the time, but changed the name at the early 19th century when Romedlil, De Bournon, Hawi, Clapro, and all these early mineralogists came and put some order in the way we were naming stones.
Yeah,
and it's continuing with the work of people like Giancarlo, who is naming new minerals.
Is a long and interesting debate proposed. Mineralogy, like a lot of science, develops, of course. After the first part, the more ancient, Plinius, etc., was only direct observation of color without chemistry, only few physical properties, more hard, less hard, depend of touch, depend of éclat, but
coming from here, coming from there,
less so, more or less. Minerals was grouped in family Giacinti, Schorl, but in the Schorl was amphibole, pyroxenes, and tourmaline, for example. So, after the light century, nomenclature begin to be more clear. With Romedlil, Hawi, the same you have named before. But it was not sufficient because in comprehension continue less than before, but continue. For this reason, in the 1960, for the first time, was instituted after the institution of EIMI, International Mineralogical Association, a commission, which was the role of this commission. First of all, to put order in all this jungle of name, not only in mineralogy, especially in Gemmology, is another, is different. But anyway, James is a mineral. First of all, it's better to define mineral. After the definition of mineral, one mineral species must to air the condition which are before the name is one structure, one chemistry, and one geological natural formation. So starting in this period, the order of classification was made, and a commission of new minerals was instituted. Who is in this commission? In this commission, the component are only one represented by each state who have one mineralogical society. Only one, not because in France or in Italy there is one mineralogist, no, because he's the porte-parole, is the
speaker, the representative of one mineralogical society.
Other stuff, because the mineralogists have century. So this commission have put one protocol, how to propose a new mineral, and how this new mineral and new name can be entered in a global classification by a vote. So you must actually rempli one important 3 sheet of examination. You have to fill 3 sheets of examination.
Yes,
because is the geological part, chemical part, physical part, structural part. First of all, you must to demonstrate the object you propose as new mineral. New mineral is unique, is really a new one, and not a variety, and not just a different quantity of iron. No, all answer must to be real, different to know mineral species.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the end, you must create a new species. Okay.
Yeah.
In your so is unique and without ambiguity. The role of the commission was also to discredit or similar species with different name and to group in only one. Okay.
We avoid
the
confusion.
Variety. Well, variety. There are some real variety, some commercial variety, the mass part, and in this part and in play the gemological word, Gemmology word. Why? Because there is tradition, name, commerce, political. One example of all, beryl. Beryl, for example. Beryl is one mineral and one group of different minerals, different species. But beryl is only iron, beryllium, silica, oxygen, and beryl don't have chromophore elements.
Yes.
Entry a little chromophore elements, chromium, but it's more complicated than that, but it's only for example. You have variety. So you have emerald, grey. You have manganese 1 bismuth. You have a yellow one with iron more 2 plus the variety Heliodor. You have the variety aquamarine. You have the variety other one. For gemological people, Vincent, no, it's difficult to forget this name. The name exists, and there is actually also the variety of variety, and will be the variety of variety of variety. I have heard with you in Bogota 2 years ago at the Emerald Conference, the bismuth variety from Utah is now called the red emerald.
Some people try to say that.
Okay. But don't call it the ruby, the red sapphire, or the sapphire, the red ruby.
Some people are calling pink ruby, pink sapphire already. So
Yes.
you have already the same.
Pink entry in a field of the red color.
Yeah.
From less pink to red.
Pink is low saturation of red, so in theory, pink sapphire.
I think the better name to define the definition of corindone minerals is pantonite. With Pantone, you have all the colors possible, and why don't put a number of Pantone? Depending of the
that doesn't sound very
color. That's the most scientific.
Yeah,
it's not commercial, of course. I have a ring of 4562 red.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work.
So, if in mineralogy, the EMA commission, I worked in this commission during 15 years, and I know, like the problem, if in mineralogy the problem was resolved, in gemology is different, is more complicated, because you must to sell. So another example, diaspora. Diaspora is not real commercial name, but sultanate perhaps more. Why?
Because some people in Gemmology complain that mineralogists don't come with the good names. So they say, for example, they prefer the word emerald sell better as beryl, because beryl is not doesn't look precious enough. So they prefer to call the stone emerald, even if they say let's say red emerald or things like that, because it's music to the ears. So there is
emerald is a very ancient name. All people know. Is only green. There is not blue. Can be about the nuance of vanadium with blue, depending the occurrence or not. But it's more regular. If you use a mineralogy also, some well-known name in terminology. Terminology is to understand each other.
Yes.
It's one definition. If I tell emerald is for a green one and not for another color one. So it is simply and difficult. The simplicity is that. The difficulty is to add this new name of variety. How if you will found a big John Cobulaite, can you sell one John Cobulaite? But why not? But the name is that.
Yes.
The name is that.
Yes.
And beryl is also the unique example with a variety of herself. La variety, the colorless variety of beryl is named Goshenite.
Yes.
No, Goshenite is different. Goshenite is a variety not at the origin of the colorless beryl, because beryl is colorless.
Yes.
Goshenite is one facies of plate crystals coming from Goshen in Switzerland. It's a facies at the origin. Now Goshenite is the non-colorless beryl.
Yeah.
That is one error in terminology.
Yes. And there are a lot in Gemmology, because unlike in a mineralogy, you have, as you say, you have a mineralogical societies that speak with each other and that have to come to an agreement. But Gemmology doesn't have that. Gemmology,
there is a commission of Gemmology.
This country says this country says that, and this market says this market says that. Yes. I can create a name tomorrow, forget it day after tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
And American, Chinese, European.
They don't discuss with each other, and they don't try to come. Unlike in mineralogy, where they try to come with, okay, we decided that, and then we stick to that. In Gemmology, it's not. It's more like an artist kind of chaotic band of people enjoying or not enjoying each other.
Who must to made order in this jungle? I have tried to have a commission of Gemmology, but I think it's finished. It's not in use.
Because in Gemmology, because of there are some people that have very, very strong opinion about things, and there is no international bodies that have the power to regulate. Basically, as long as the stone has customers, and if there is many countries don't have laws about nomenclature, about mineralogy and things like that. So as long as it's not illegal, many people say it's legal. But so they don't care about official names and things like that. And this is you have a lot of confusion. Yes.
The customers is the end person.
Yes.
And the customers buy what the jewelry sell him.
Yeah.
And the customers is innocent.
Well, that's why then you have
more at mount the problem.
The only thing that was done at one point is because number one, there was mineralogy that came, tried to put some order, but that was not somewhere enough. So then you had the creation of laboratories. So it was not just between the seller and the customer, but you had an independent party in the middle that was trying to, which main job is to create trust and confidence. So it's not the seller who says that the stone is named like that. It's an independent party who is not part of the trade. So that was the answer that Gemmology found. Number one, using mineralogy to put correct name, and then in theory, the labs are supposed to use mineralogy and to explain to the seller and to the customer that this stone is actually this. But sometimes some people don't like the answer because they say, the name is not interesting, and I would like Can we find an more interesting
is,
name for my stone because I cannot sell it?
Yes, the name is not a commercial name. Can be, we have a lot of time discussed about that. Is not the first time, of course. There are different society, official society. I know, Institut National de Gemology, Gemological Institute of America, Instituto Gemologico from Switzerland, from Germany, from Italy. This institution can be exactly the same rule like a mineralogical society of each country. And so decide or begin to think, to arrive at a meeting about this question, and each country society arrive to have a real nomenclature staff with university and not tautologist. I don't know in English how can explain this word joke. But can be one beginner.
Yes, but it will be difficult because if you create, for example, a geological association and you come with name, if you are not backed up by the government and by the law, it's basically if nobody follow what you say, that's it. Because at the end, in a country, for example, in France or in some other country, the trade is regulated by the law. So, for example, in France, there is a law about gemstone. There is, the stone, when you sell a stone, they have to be named in a certain way. In the US, they have also FTC, but not every country have a legal system explaining how you should disclose to the customer how you should sell a stone. So basically, the legal thing in some country is associated with mineralogy and gemmology, but in some other one, there is just nothing in their laws. So basically, the buyer or the seller, they can do whatever they want.
In natural science nomenclature, there is not a government law. If I define pyrite is not on the law, is on the mineralogy law.
Yes.
Okay. So it's out of law of the state. Because it's not, for gem is the same. There is a law, a general, it's difficult to
there is a scientific community.
You have understand a common law of the community.
Yes,
not of the
there
government.
is a scientific community. So if you put yourself outside of that, you will be basically removed. But in trade, it's not enough. A trader is active as long as he has customers. So trade is a little bit more, compared to science, it's a little bit more like a religion. You can create your own thing. And then if you have people following you, then, there is a new thing coming. If you
can arrive, okay.
Yeah, so this is somewhere the interesting thing and the difficulty with Gemmology is because people say, but why? Because there is just no laws. There is no law, and in Gemmology, a laboratory is a company that has customer. You are right, you are wrong. If people are not using the service, you have nothing to say. And so there is no, some labs try to discuss with each other and they try to agree on what is the meaning of one word. And then suddenly there is another lab who don't agree with them. And then all the people will go to use the lab that is not agreeing with the others. So basically, it's complicated because it's dealing with trade and with selling. And the thing is, in Gemmology and in trade, it works a little bit differently from science, and I'm quite sad about that. But this is a fact. If today, for example, you saw there was this story about, I wrote an article on a stone that I used to name. With my boss, we had a code to call this stone, and we call this type of stone Jedi spinel. And then I wrote this article, and suddenly you have some people using that, and now you have some lab explaining what is a Jedi spinel to people that have nothing to do with the code that we created. So they don't care about what we created. And everybody is taking this word and putting a different meaning inside it, and there is nothing we can do, except that I can tell my story about, well, when you were using this code between me and Henry, we were meaning that. But then suddenly other people are using the same name with another meaning. And our opinion is without any value. Nobody cares.
One example can be diamond.
Yes.
Diamond have not variety.
Yes.
It's red diamond, yellow diamond, fancy diamond, blue diamond, but the name diamond rest. There are some degree of quality of purity, of non-impurity with a number.
Mm-hmm.
And can be the same system can theoretically applied to beryl, to corundum.
It is with corundum. Blue sapphire, yellow sapphire, orange sapphire, purple sapphire.
Just not the red one.
But there is ruby also.
Not all sapphire. Yes, because the funny thing is before all the red stone were more or less ruby, all the blue stone were more or less sapphire. And then mineralogists found out, actually, they are the same mineral.
No, so one way, and is very Machiavellic way is, for example, to send to New Mineral Commission this a proposition for a discreditation of the name corundum, and in the favor to the name sapphire.
Sorry?
We can, in commission, discreditate the name corundum.
Yes.
And we drop completely of the literature, and the new name is a sapphire.
Yeah, that would make sense.
But so ruby, what is a variety of sapphire? It's not possible.
Yeah.
Sapphire means blue. Ruby means red.
Yeah.
Etymologically speaking.
Etymologically speaking, for
corundum is a variety, colorless variety of sapphire. Yeah. Impossible, because who is the type? You must found a colorless sapphire to have a new type of species.
Yeah, I think
the concept of species
this is a challenge that they had. I saw that De Bournon had when they were trying to find the name for this mineral, and they had the issue with sapphire and ruby. So they sent an expedition to the south of India, and they went to a village where they were mining ruby, and they asked the local people, what is the name of the stone you are mining? And this is the way they came with the name corundum. So basically it was a field expedition that was sent to India to get the local name at the mine. And then they came and said, well, the local people in the village where they mine ruby, they call that corundum. So they proposed the word corundum as a mineral name for ruby and sapphire.
In this case, you can, like wine, for example, add with parentheses or with hyphen one you have Grand Cru, Premier Cru, or different degree of appellation.
Yeah.
Of denomination, I don't know in English with nomenclature.
We will not solve that.
The equal corundum, and then you have the different.
Yeah.
There are
many theoretical things.
Anyway, you will find one person who don't agree this system.
Yes,
of course, impossible.
With Gemology, you will all the time have that.
It's a no-way road.
I know. There are many things that are complicated because of the history and the traditions and the fact that one country will not agree and things like that. They are trying. There are so many commissions, like the CIBJO, like association, like the ICA, like other things they are trying to discuss in order to harmonize, but it's very, very complicated because basically you need everybody to agree. And
there is the logic and the mind of people. One example is the blue, copper, tourmaline from Paraíba.
Yes.
Paraíba. Okay. Now there is Mozambique or Paraíba. No, Paraíba is impossible. Paraíba is in Brazil.
Well, in that case,
it's the beginning to arrive at.
In that case, you can say that what is a Paraíba tourmaline? Actually, it's an Elbaite, but Elbaite is from Elba Island.
No, Elbaite is the species. Is special.
But Elbaite is coming from Elba.
Yes, the type, but it's the name of the species or the species.
Yeah.
The copper Elbaite is a variety containing from 0.02% of copper, and is the chromophore, the blue chromophore. The species is Elbaite.
Yes, and the variety Paraíba.
Variety Paraíba, and is the name of a local occurrence variety. Yeah. So, one blue, one from Mozambique.
Yes.
Why to call it Paraíba? You can call Paraíba type.
Yes, maybe.
Or have the name of the occurrence of, or in Mozambique, I don't know the name of the mine, and to call with the name of the...
Mavuco in Alto Ligona.
Okay.
When near Alto Ligona.
Yes. Okay, Alto Ligona, you can call this Alto Ligona and not Paraíba. Paraíba.
This, this is something that the naming of mineral is something that looks to me, I'm just going in the field and I work in a lab. When I see the way the mineral were named in the past, from the antiquity to the 19th century, you go from one author to another one, and they use the same word, but they don't speak about the same thing. So it's very confusing. And now with globalization, it's also getting very, very confusing because somewhere people are returning to every time there is a stone coming from a different place, everybody wants to have a different name. So we are coming back to, again, but this stone is from, let's say, Paraíba state, but this stone is not, so they want to have their name. And so we are going back to confusion. That's the feeling that I have now is, and I see people, and that's why I wanted to have this webinar with you, because I think that mineralogy, what is the great thing with mineralogy, it was able to make a classification that makes sense, even if it's not perfect, where there are still some things like we still say, for example, jade, but jade is not. Jade is actually there is a jadeite, there is a nephrite, and there is also omphacite, for example, under the same name. So sometimes we don't really know what is jade.
And jadeite.
Yes, and jadeite. So it's not perfect, but it's interesting because it simplifies quite a lot of things and bring a lot of clarity, even if there is still a lot of things that problematic, and people will discuss: is it a good idea to use this type of name or another one? It can become very, very complicated, and basically there are the interesting thing about that is how many people. For example, when you create a new stone name from like John Coivulite or Laurent Thomasite and things like that, basically, how many people? What is the process to discuss about to basically coin this name? How many mineralogical society you have around the world?
The members are, I think, 35.
35.
35 members of the New Minerals and Name Commission, yes.
So how they do? People are proposing some name for the new mineral and then people vote?
The author proposed to the commission.
The author proposed, the person who has done the research work?
Yes, a researcher or staff of researcher propose the new commission. Minerals and name.
Yes.
The vote is two votes. You vote the species and the name.
Okay.
And two must to be more than 90% of yes.
Oh, so it's a qualified vote, 90%?
Yes, practically the unanimity.
Yes.
It's very rare to have one or two no.
And
but can be, but no, that is a particular case anyway.
Yeah, and everybody has to vote. Every society has to vote.
And this 35 member must vote both name and species.
And species.
And the chairman collect the vote and communicate the approbation or not.
And if some people are not
this
happy,
is the procedure.
And if some people that are outside, let's say people from the public, if they are not happy about the name, can they ask for a revision of this?
Can vote no and explaining why he vote no.
No. Somebody outside, for example, Justin suddenly don't agree.
Outside the member, no, cannot. Can if the person is know the proposition, but difficult because normally it's confidential.
Yes.
But
once a name is approved, can somebody ask for the name to be changed?
After?
Yes.
Never. I have encountered this problem. In my 15 years of commission, never. And I think never I have heard that. If in the commission, you can, inside the commission, vote no and explaining why. And one no can be important to stop the procedure and to think better. For example, because the name in another language is one horrible word phonetically. So I cannot, if without pronouncing in Norwegian or in dialect of one African Tibu is that is one the case. For example. So one no, we don't think about this possibility. So we propose another name. That is possible.
So the AMA
and the name must to be logic,
yes.
locality, a name, not the name of my father or my son, of course.
But still, you have in many cases, you have gemstones that are named after people. Like, for example, Laurent Thomas site was named after Laurent Thomas, who is still alive.
But is justified because in the proposal for Laurent Thomas site was from me and other colleagues. First of all, Laurent Thomas have found the stone.
Yes.
And Laurent Thomas have invoiced the stone to laboratory for analysis. Secondary is a geologist. And thirdly is a geologist work in Madagascar from 10 and 10 and 10 and 10 years.
Yes.
And he have developed the mineralogy of the country. So it's in his honor. And we have proposed this name in honor. The same Frank Hawthorne years ago have proposed it. So Federico Pezzotta is not found from Federico. And Frank, why? Because he's James, Federico is gemologist, he's a geologist, working in Madagascar, etc., etc., etc. So the name is logic, is good.
There is a logic to the name.
There is a logic. I study pepper rossite, for example, an arsenate of vanadium and that from Latium. Pepper rossi was a crystallographer from Pavia, founding new X-ray development, studied other new minerals, was one of my master, and I have offered him the name. Is a man working in mineralogy. I cannot call a mineral with a name of, I don't know, a Nobel Prize because there must be a logic in the proposal.
But for example, there is this mineral from Myanmar that was named joint coivulate. So
I don't know the history. Who is the proposer?
I think
the proposal of the name.
I think it was the mineral was acquired.
The mineral. The mineral and the name normally is the same. The same person or the same staff.
No, the mineral I think was acquired by GIA, and then the work was done at GIA, and then they proposed the name of John Koivula, who is working at GIA.
So why John Koivula is a gemologist? Is a man who has worked in gemology. So
he did a greater job. So to honor him. So basically, it's a person who does the work on all the work in order to characterize this new mineral that has the possibility to make a proposal for the name and maybe honor somebody or a country or something like that with in that way.
Yes,
and they have this possibility to give to honor somebody with that stone basically for more or less the posterity, because then this stone will be
yes, and this
like
person
the star of the comet.
Yes, must be do past and also present. There are a lot of past mineralogists who haven't minerals in their honor. Moss, for example.
Yeah.
Mosite don't exist.
Yes. There is a more scale. There is a more scale.
And it's logic. Lot of famous people.
There is no Romé de Lilith. Romé doesn't have.
No, there is Romeite.
Oh, there is Romeite. Yeah, but they shorten it.
A Mangano side tout comme ça. Linéite, buffonite does exist.
Oh, buffonite existe. That's a funny name.
Non, voilà. Mais bouffon, c'est un mauvais mot aussi.
Justin, you imagine yourself, what is a stone? You are saying, oh, it's a buffonite. Oh my God.
Voilà.
In French.
I don't know. Criterium is that. Normally, locality, old Latin or Greek name, meaning one physical property, mélanite, leucite, par exemple, blanc, noir, white, black, or the structure, or locality, or one French species founded 10 years ago is AFMIT.
Yeah.
AFM, Association Française de Mineralogie, is in honor of a collector group who the globality have studied a lot of several species and work with the science for nomenclature. I mean that you can theoretically found one new and call it Mindataite in honor of the institution Mindat.
Yes.
Why not? It's possible. It's not horrible.
No. It makes sense. Yeah. And then what I see is that in Gemmology, if they don't like the name of a mineral, they can come with a new variety, which is basically what happened, for example, with tanzanite, because it's a variety of zoisite, and then Tiffany decided that it's not really zoisite will not sell too much, so they decided to create the variety tanzanite. Or grossular garnet, they came with a tsavorite. So this is what is going on in Gemmology. Basically, if sometimes the name of a stone doesn't suit to them, there are some people that are creating a variety name, and then the stone is traded with a variety
Tsavorite and tanzanite are logic name of variety. They play, voilà. That is normal. Tiffanyite is different because must have one important reason. My logic is the IMA Commission. Must have one important logic to call example Tiffanyite. Or Van Cleefite or Cartwright is the same.
Just in K primary.
I think will be a bomb because not all people are friends of Tiffany or Cartier or Chaumet or no. So that is a choice of proposer, but in Gemmology field there is not officiality. So normally is the first name you call the variety will be used.
Then it's become more
Following,
complicated to change it. Yes.
Like Paraíba. At the beginning, Paraíba was normal. Why? Because this variety, this black tourmaline is kind of Paraíba.
Logic.
It's
Yeah,
logic.
it's all logic, like from the old age. Gemstone were named after color or place. What is the name? Oh, this is a stone I found there. So you give the name. You give the name of the place to the stone. That's the human logic, from the.
Changing the name of diaspora in Tsarit is not logic for me.
Yeah, I understand why.
Or Sultanite, effectively, diaspora in Turkey can have another signification.
Mm.
Diaspora from Armenian people, for example.
Mm.
But in this case, you must to change the name diaspora because it can be politically problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a
long. I think is important to restart this discussion in form of open paper to one Gems and Gemmology or other international magazine, not to have a final regulator, to put one stone in the lake and move the water and to restart discussion about that. And then wait answer and
there is one thing I know about that. I will not be the one doing that. No, because names, I found that nomenclature is something that is one of the most difficult things that I encounter when you travel. Names are carrying emotion or carrying tradition, and it's you move from one country to another one. It's the word, it's actually a very complicated issue because people have opinions, they have feelings, they have that, and they agree, they don't agree. And if you want to disagree with somebody, you just start to put some words, and then it's becoming a chaos. So it's I have all the time issue with that.
Of course, different opinion can be resisted. Their opinion can be logic or not logic. There are more important opinion and less important opinions. So, that opinion is respectable anyway, of course. They depend who and when and from where. The opinion is different than mine or yours.
Probably something like that has to be bring, at the correct time, in the correct place, with, and in order to find an agreement. But I see that mineralogy was able to bring a lot of clarity, but still there is a lot of confusion around with names and things like that. And this is difficult. Some people are facing a lot of difficulties with these names that they don't really understand, and and that are confusing some other people. So it's I think it's an important thing, but it's a fascinating subject to study in Gemology. The evolution of a nomenclature, from the antiquity to now, because you have so many. I see regularly you have people say, the Roman or the thing like that, they were speaking about that. No, the Romans were not speaking about ruby because the word ruby didn't appear before the Middle Age. So the Romans were not speaking about rubies. They didn't even know the name.
Yes.
So and there was no ruby in Rome. So, but
example, you have pronounced the right word, especially today. You tell name from more ancient antiquity or not antiquity. For example, lazurite.
Yes,
It's one of the most ancient minerals.
Yes.
And is accepted, commission, etc., etc., etc. Is a part of sodalite group with sodium, aluminium, silicium, oxygen, and sulfur and sulfate.
Mm.
There is another awinite with sulfate and not sulfur. Lot of people have right actually. Lazurite is not a mineral, is a variety of awinite.
Yes, some people write that.
That is wrong because never the commission have voted that, first of all. And if there is the logic of ancient name, it's more logical to have awinite is a variety of lazurite. But can imagine you the French word of mineralogy if you ose to write one proposal to discrediter la awinite is impossible.
Yeah.
It's difficult. Nothing is impossible, but logically speaking, is awinite a variety
of
lazurite.
Lazurite, yes.
So it's better to have both, one with sulfur and sulfate, another without sulfur.
But these are very recent names.
For me, it's more logical lazurite.
Yeah. But these are very recent names. Lazurite.
No, lazurite is plinium. Plinium
was already using the word lazurite.
Yes, that's more is ancient. And anyway, before Awi. Awinite is not founded by Awi. Is
much after.
I don't remember. Was from Italian one. Was in honor of Awi.
Yes, it was, of course, after Awi.
Yes.
After way. So it's a very recent name compared to lazurite.
Yes.
Okay.
And before awinite, the first name proposed was Lazialite from Latium.
Lazialite.
3 or 4 years before the name awinite proposed by a Swedish scientist. I don't remember the name, but both worked the same stone independently. There is a lot of example of who arrived first, who arrived when.
Yeah, but there is something. Maybe that would be the final thing about this talk. Is
in the variety.
There is a lot of confusion around, and there is one thing that is sometimes a little bit missing in Gemmology now. It's the historical dimension. Because you have even gemological school and things like that, they are more in a kind of a lore. They will tell a short story about a stone, but they don't really explain the historical background, for example, of terminology in Gemmology. So, and it's maybe the reason is because it's something very complicated actually, from one author to another one to another one. the way the name was changed or moved, and how basically one author influenced maybe another one and things like that. So and several times, in Gemmology, we are looking at okay, where is this name coming from? What is and in many cases, it's very difficult to find actually the answer, except reading everything. And then you find, okay, so the first guy who speaks about this word is...
that is a typical work. One collector, passionate, or scientist in the field can, during the... after he will be retired or during the vacation or the board of the swimming pool.
You remember, Justin, we were discussing about that with Jack Ogden. About, trying to find the first evidence on the first use when we were speaking about spinel and about, for example, the Black Prince Ruby. When
we have Ruby Ballet, I don't know in English.
Ruby Ballet, but to try to find out what was the first mention of this stone, and to find if there is any evidence that this stone was actually in, and it's a very complicated matter because you have to go
historical and work with found in the old archivi, I don't know in English.
Lapidaries, books about, you had lapidaries, book about stone, but they were not using the same weight and measurement thing. So you have not just the terminology, but the weight, the
way literature and non in diagonal way. So,
very complicated.
Word by word. And the mistake from the translations. So one language, another language can be in transposition of translation, dialect. Lot of minerals was this problem. The frontier from Transylvania and Hungary, for example. Before the first Mondial War, and azurite, for example, azurite is a very new name. Azurite as name is 8020 or 8025. In the first middle of 19th century, okay? Before was copper carbonate, bleu d'Allemagne. Voilà. At one moment, now is azurite for all people.
Yes.
In the Dana book, Dana system of mineralogy, at the beginning of each species, there is the name in all language with the biblio and the year of the first mention of the name in the literature, for example. That is a good mine of information.
The Dana
system, yes.
Dana system.
But for different language or slang or dialect.
Yeah. So that's the reference people should check. If they want to know about a mineral name and the origin of everything, they have to basically...
for this reason, it's better bisbeat and not red emerald, because it's more ancient. So.
So they have to go to the Dana kind of encyclopedia.
Well, it's interesting. From one start of this talk, we are finished in another one.
No, but we more or less follow we more or less follow the path that.
I don't know how many people are.
And then we went to mineralogy.
How many people are still in?
Same number.
Yeah.
There is Peter. Peter is still here. Peter Lindberg.
Peter Berga? Okay, ciao, Peter.
Yeah, Peter is still here. I don't know if he's listening, but he's still around. And but we don't have too many people this time because, as you know, I started promoting the talk basically day before yesterday.
I don't know if it's used in your talk, but we can just permit to Peter to enter in this discussion because he knows very well the situation.
Yeah. Well, shall we wrap it up? It's getting quite late here in Bangkok.
Yeah, Justin, you are going to collapse.
Yeah, it's getting late. Well, Giancarlo, thank you so much for the time. It's been very, very interesting. I feel like we just did 2 webinars. We did one on Lapis, so we did the other one on the naming of...
It was very interesting. It's just the beginning.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Wow.
So anybody that wants to get in contact with Giancarlo, he has allowed us to post his email here, so you can take it down. And of course, you can find Vincent and I on our normal social media channels. Vincent, do we know who we're speaking to next time?
I knew, but I have to confirm with him.
Okay.
So there will be, I have a good idea about who will be our next guest, but I have just to confirm the thing with him. But yeah, in theory, we will have Henry Ho.
Okay.
My former boss at AIGS.
Cool.
And probably we'll speak about basically kind of name in mineralogy, because we'll speak about an article that I have written. That will be, and it's about Jedi spinners. We'll speak about that. Cool. That will be interesting.
Yeah, that'll be good, because I recently heard about a blue Jedi spinel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you know, why not? Somewhere, you know, the blue spinel from Vietnam are some kind of equivalent as a Jedi spinel. Somewhere you could say it's a bright, there is no dark tone.
Yeah.
And, you know, in the way we were thinking with Henry, at this point, we're just thinking about red and pink. But why not with other colors? So Jedi spinel would mean just a very highly fluorescent spinel. Maybe, I don't know. No. That was just our code. We were not thinking about bluestone at this time, but yeah, why not?
Yeah, who knows?
Then it's a question of, does it make a common sense? Or, but as long as it's a code between basically you and me, if we both decide to change the code, then it's validated.
True.
So it'll be the same. Mineralogy is different because, of course, when you start to write articles, then you have to be consistent, and you cannot erase a few hundred years of writing just because people change mind.
True.
But
True.
Yeah, so why not?
Okay. Well, Vincent, I will see you next month, and Giancarlo, I will see you whenever.
Giancarlo, I will see you soon because I'm coming to Paris in. I think I will be in Paris in about 2 weeks. So I will send you a message and let's go again for lunch.
We go in finally to countryside in Dolomites at the middle of September until the end of September.
Okay, let's see. Anyway, I will send you a message and let's see. I will come regularly in Paris.
Right, phone.
Yeah,
with a great pleasure.
Okay.
And Justin, come also.
I'll be in Paris. I'll be in Paris in March, so maybe I'll see you
in March.
Yeah.
After Tucson. Perfect.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
thank you very much for
coming.
Invitation.
See you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Ciao.